Hey guys, Kevin Rogers with On Point Pro Styles in Gainesville, Georgia. I'm going to walk you through cutting out a framed window. This is a Nissan Kicks, but this will apply to most vehicles you encounter with a frame around them. So we're gonna cover cutting the sides. In this case, this isn't flat, so we're gonna make a cut on the bottom. We're gonna shift the film during the cuts to make sure that the film extends past the viewing area and hides your edges really well. So to do this, I got a roll of Tint Depot's Supplier charcoal and 20%. My slip solution in a spray bottle. And I've got my Ultra Red Dot with a fresh blade, fresh tip. Make sure you snap the tip, start with a fresh blade. And I'm just using, this is the Fusion Orange Turbo Pro Turbo Squeegee. So let's get to it. Okay, so the first thing I like to do when I pull a vehicle in, before I get started on it, I like to mist the glass, wipe off any dirt that might just be sitting on the glass, and also kind of wipe above it. So we got that done. Grab my roll of film. Okay, so this is a 20-inch roll. This is about a 17-inch window. So this is more than enough to cover. If you don't have the short rolls, you can do this obviously out of a 36-inch split, cut, split in half, or a 40-inch obviously split in half. So I've got a 20-inch, so we're gonna spray the window with our slip solution, roll out our film, make sure I cover both the front side and the back side, and take out my knife. Obviously hold the film away from the car. You don't want to puncture through the film and scratch the paint or anything. Cut off the extra. Oh, let me get organized. All right, so we're gonna take the film, and since we're doing a bottom cut on this, we want to make sure that the bottom overhangs the bottom gasket. We can remove this corner, make it a little bit easier to maneuver the film around. So once we have the film covering the whole bottom gasket, that's going to make it easier for us to make our cut along the bottom gasket. So first thing I'm going to do, when you put your blade out, you put it out just a little bit, not much blade. That leaves too much blade and you cut all over the place. Just put out a little bit. So I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to push on the seal. Don't push too far in the forward because you're going to bunch the film up and you'll crease it. So you're going to just put your finger there, drop your blade in, run it along the whole bottom seal. Tricky getting that off there. All right. So we got our bottom seal cut. Next thing we're going to do is lock our film down. Make sure you're covering in the front, covering in the back. So spray the film, squeegee it just kind of in the middle, just across, and that locks the film from moving. If you're new, probably want to do that before you even do the bottom. You don't want the film sliding around when you're making cuts. So I missed that step. So lock your film, overhang the bottom, make your bottom cut. And what I do is come to the front. Again, push my finger in, not toward the front corner, because you got that overhang on the bottom and the overhang on the top. So I'm gonna just put out a little bit of blade. I'm gonna poke it into the corner. I'm gonna run straight up. When I'm making these cuts, I'm holding about at a 45, not at a 90, not against the glass, about at a 45, a little bit of blade out, and I'm resting it on the seal. I don't wanna cut into the seal. I'm resting it onto the seal and I'm just letting the seal guide me to the bottom. Take it slow, use your finger as a guide as you come down. That helps you maintain control of the knife and help you not chop up, good seals, rubber seals, which is one of the biggest problems that you'll run into as a tinter. So I'm gonna spray the back side of the film so it releases it from the glass, makes it slippery again. I'm gonna come to the front and I'm gonna pull forward just a little bit. And I'm gonna shift this film pattern forward about a 1/4 of an inch. It's tacking on me on the back. We're gonna shift it forward about a 1/4 of an inch, about like that. We're gonna check our bottom and make sure we're still lined up with the bottom. Miss the film again. Lock it in place, just doesn't move. Next, we're gonna cut the back section. So you wanna be gentle with the film. I lift it up like this. I take my left hand, and here's the seal. This is a pretty deep seal, but I take my finger to pinch the film into the seal where I'm gonna make my cut. Little bit of blade. Don't start it all the way at the top because these can sometimes curve a little bit, so I come down about 1.5 inches, and that's where I start my cut. So I'm gonna push the film in, put out a little bit of blade. We're gonna rest it on that seal at about a 45. We're gonna take it straight to the bottom, rip away from the tint. Don't wanna obviously rip it this way and you end up ripping into the film. Next thing we'll do, a lot of locking and unlocking, but that's the trick, and you'll get faster and faster as you go. So we're unlocking the film again. Now we're gonna take the back side of the film and we're gonna slide it back just a little bit. Need to unlock it just a little bit more. There we go. So we're gonna overlap the back about 1/8 of an inch. Make sure there's coverage in the front, coverage in the back. There's one thing to remember is when you install the film, you've got this top edge and this top edge. So when you put the film on the inside, your film is actually gonna drop about 1/8 of an inch and back about 1/8 of an inch. So you wanna make sure you've got that good coverage in the front and just enough in the back to make sure that it tucks past where you can't see it. Last thing I do is to make sure I get it below the bottom gasket, I'll take it and I'll pull it down. I usually check the inside gasket because some are pretty far down, but typically you can get away with pulling it down about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. Rest it along the bottom. And then what we're gonna do, this is your final lock before you do the top edge. So we kind of want to follow the contour of the glass so that it's flat against the glass when we do our top cut. You're gonna take it and you're gonna roll it down. Don't dig into the corners, you'll crease and pop the film. So we're just gonna come across the top like this, a little bit down, so that we can roll the window down, cut our top edge. I'm gonna sneak in here, and I'm gonna pull up my bottom corner here, right across the bottom. I just kind of pull up and a little bit back so that I don't have to reach all the way across there, and it pops that front corner up. Drop the window about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. You want it to lay flat right here. And what I do is I like to make sure the film has a little slip on it, so as I run my finger down it, it doesn't get stuck. Okay, so here, making our top cut, we're obviously using the top of the window as our guide. So when you do this, I like to put out about 2 snap-off portions, so I'm not too deep into the car. And you're gonna actually find the top. I use my thumb to find the top. Go as far back as you can, and you're gonna just puncture through the film as level as you can. And then you're gonna ride your knife, not flat, a little bit at an angle, as almost you're dragging it along the top, and you wanna go nice and slow and even. Don't dip with the knife up or down. That'll actually change the curvature and you won't have a nice clean line. Practice, practice, practice. But you're gonna puncture through the film and as level as you can, take it all the way to the front. Try not to stop. So, best camera angle as I've got, I'm gonna puncture the film. I'm gonna keep it as level as I can. I use my finger to just push the film lightly to the glass, make sure I don't have any fingers poking up, which will jump the blade. Take it all the way to the front. Obviously this technique will work going the opposite direction. Doesn't matter which end you start on or what you're comfortable with. And again, you're gonna pull away. So you can use, in my shop I work on a glass board. It's a whole lot easier. I like not having to worry about pressure on the glass and scratching the glass, things like that. So if you have a peel board or a cutting board like this, just a big panel of glass, I'd highly recommend that. I'm not going to show you cutting on the car. If you end up having to use the car as your cutting surface, take great care in the pressure of your blade, the angle you hold the blade, so that you minimize any chances of scratching the glass. So now that we've got our rough cut, we've got to finish this cut, this cut, this cut, this cut, this cut. Well, we've got the general shape of the window. We've got the size right. It's tall enough. We've got a good clean top edge. So in order to do this, I use a straight edge. You can freehand it. The better you get, you'll be able to freehand it. I freehand some longer sections. I'll probably usually always resort to this. But it's pretty quick. Again, snap off a fresh blade, start with a fresh tip. Let's do that now. Okay, so you'll notice that the side of the tint's not gonna be a perfect straight line because you're cutting on a car, you're not cutting against a straight edge. So get it as close as you can. Cut down your top. Oops, let me line it back up. Cut down your bottom. Finish off our front cut. I actually see a little nick here. We don't wanna rip the tint when we install it. And for my cutting, I usually put out about 3 or 4 sections of blade. Keep your blade, I keep it about a finger width off the glass on the back side of the blade. And that's how I do my cutting. I don't have to put a lot of pressure that way. If you're like this or your blade's tilted up too far on the surface, easy to scratch the glass. So you wanna keep it down. Use light pressure, always a fresh blade. So, all right, we've trimmed up our front. Now we want to kind of round our corners a little bit. Okay, we're going to round our corners. So I use my fingernail as kind of just a rounder. These are pretty easy corners. You just want to round that corner off. Same on this bottom. I take just a little bit off, just round it. They're going to be tucked, they're going to be hidden. You don't have to sit there and, you know, perfect them and make them look, you know, super great. Nobody's going to see them. So I turn the film around, I'm right-handed, easier for me to always cut to my right. So we're gonna finish off this continuation here as well. So again, put out my blade, trim that down. This one I'm just gonna freehand. This was that top where we punctured through. So I'm gonna come back. And this one I'll make it just a little bit more pronounced, just to make it look kinda classic and even. This one on the bottom, I'm gonna come across, cut off that, and then same thing, I'm gonna round off the bottom. Here we go. And just like that, you have a finished pattern. All right guys, so that's pretty much it. That technique will work on most of the vehicles out there with framed windows. Remember to shift the film as you cut, make sure you cover and overlap the sides. If you need to do a bottom cut, you can check the straight edge to see if it works. If it doesn't, it's got a slight curve like this one. Cut the bottom off, make sure to cover all the sides, cut your top, practice. Film and tools, tintdepot.com. If you have any questions, contact them. They'll be glad to help. So stay tuned for more videos like this, but there it is. Thanks for watching.